So it's been a while since I've done a MacBook buying guide, and I figured this would be a good time since a lot of you are going back to school. Some of you are starting new jobs or even looking for work, and others are receiving money from their employers to upgrade their current rigs because they're stuck working at home. I promise not to make this video too technical. I want it to be as simple as possible to help you make the right decision. Now, if you're looking at a MacBook right now, there are three different versions to buy. The MacBook Air, which is Apple's most affordable, MacBook Pro 13, which sits somewhere in the middle, and the more expensive MacBook Pro 16, which offers insane performance at a higher cost. I feel like if you're looking at the MacBook Air, you might want to wait a couple of months. Apple announced Apple Silicon at WWDC 2020. It's going to be replacing the CPUs in all their future devices. This is a 2-year or 3-year project, and they said there'll be a device at the end of this year. I feel like it's going to be a MacBook Air replacement. It makes the most sense because the MacBook Air in general is not a very powerful computer, and an Apple Silicon processor would probably do a better job than the Y series processor that's currently inside of here. Apple Silicon is going to provide you with better benefits like battery life, insane battery life, better thermals, and is going to be optimized to work better with Apple software. Now, if you have to have a new computer today and your budget is $999, I would get the i3 model, not because it's the best MacBook Air, but because any dollar more than that, you start creeping on MacBook Pro 13 territory. The i3 is fine, but you just need to know what you're getting yourself into. It's not a fast computer, it's very basic, it's fine to take notes, it's fine to listen to music, it's fine to edit the odd photo, and it's fine to write a book. But I wouldn't buy it if you're planning on pushing the computer because it will get completely bogged down. Even if you have too many Chrome tabs open, the i3 model of the MacBook Air will just not perform that well. And if you're looking at the i5 version, which costs $1,299, that happens to be the same cost as the entry-level MacBook Pro 13. The entry-level MacBook Pro 13, in my opinion, offers the best value out of all the MacBooks. If you're a developer and you're compiling code, I don't suggest buying the more expensive 10th gen Intel processor version of this. You won't see that much of a performance difference if all your compiling is done using the CPU. Now, if you're someone who's compiling code that focuses on AR and you need a GPU to compile the graphics portion of your code, then yes, the 10th gen model will make more sense because of the Iris Plus graphics integrated GPU. But I think for most people, the 8th generation base model is the one you want. Maybe spec it with 16 gigabytes of RAM and a 512 gigabyte SSD, and the price point becomes around $1499. Now, if you're looking at the MacBook Pro 16, I feel like you know what you're getting yourself into. You're probably a video creator or content creator. You're probably dabbling into 3D work. Maybe you're using Photoshop and importing large graphic files, and then you have to apply all these different effects that can finally take advantage of the GPU and the extra cores that you can get with the more expensive MacBooks. But I feel like you need to know what the sweet spot is. And if that's you, I don't think most people should buy the i9. I think the i7 paired with 16 to 32 gigabytes of RAM, storage size is obviously a decision you have to make, and the Radeon 5500M is where you want to be, and that will retail for around $2,500 to $2,600 US. So when it comes to battery life, I'm giving it to the MacBook Pro 13. I got 10 to 11 hours of use before needing to charge. In second place, it's the MacBook Air. I got about 9 hours of use before needing to charge. And in last place is the MacBook Pro 16. I didn't get the best battery life with this, only 5 to 6 hours before needing to charge. The benefit though of buying a MacBook Pro 16 over, let's say, a beefy laptop computer on the PC side is that you can utilize the GPU at 100% on battery. Whereas on a PC laptop with a dedicated GPU, it has to throttle the GPU so that it doesn't blow up the battery. So that's the benefit of the MacBook Pro 16. You just get better performance on battery mode. Speakers. They're a bit different on each laptop. They all sound great, better than most laptops out there, but obviously the ones on the MacBook Pro 16 are going to sound the best. So let's do a recap. If you're looking at the MacBook Air, you might want to wait and see what Apple releases at the end of the year. If a new MacBook Air hits the market with Apple Silicon, it could potentially be a better candidate with battery efficiencies, better thermals, and possibly better performance. If you're buying today and have to have a MacBook Air, I would go with the i3, but just know that you're getting yourself into very, very basic productivity. And if you're looking at the i5 MacBook Air, just skip it and go with the base model MacBook Pro 13 instead. Now, if you're looking at the MacBook Pro 13 because you're a developer or you want something that can basically handle a variety of different tasks, still go with the 8th generation version of the MacBook Pro 13. I think it'll serve most people's needs. However, if you're a developer who's doing AR, or if you're someone who's dabbling in different applications that could take advantage of the integrated GPU, then you might want to switch to the 10th generation Intel model of that, because the Iris Plus graphics does provide some performance enhancement. You also get 2 extra Thunderbolt 3 ports on the 10th gen Intel model of the MacBook Pro 13 compared to 2 on the 8th gen Intel version of the MacBook Pro 13. Now, if you're looking at the MacBook Pro 16, I think you know that you're already buying one, but are confused in terms of what spec you should buy. I think the sweet spot is the i7. That's the one most people should go for. Choose your storage and your RAM wisely, as you can upgrade these things down the road. And I think the 5500M is the sweet spot for most people. Now, if you have any more questions about any of these devices, or you want me to do a live stream to answer all of your questions, let me know in the comments down below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.